In astrology, the moon represents feminine energy. It's about the depth of our emotions, our emotional sensitivity, our capacity for emotion, our ability to interpret complex emotions, our ability to receive emotional messages, and our ability to deeply connect with others on an emotional level. This is why when I'm doing love readings or synastry readings, the first place that I go is your moon, because I want to know, how do you feel? What does that feel like when you're feeling things? To what depth are you able to feel? A Cancer moon and let's say an Aquarius moon are not the same type of feelers at all. And I need to know that up front, because when we're talking about love, we're not talking about reason, we're not talking about intellect, right? We're talking about feelings. So how do you feel? Your moon sign is actually determined by the emotional state that your mother was in during the time of your conception and during the time that she was carrying you. So depending on what your mother was going through at that time, which a lot of that is fated, right? It's our destiny, it's our karma. There's going to be a certain moon energy that your mother is experiencing. This is why I encourage a lot of you to talk to your mothers, if you have a good relationship with your mother, of course, about like what it was like when she was pregnant with you, what he was like after she gave birth to you, what he was like in the first 3 years of your life, like things that you wouldn't know, things that you wouldn't remember because you were too young. Ask your mom about it. And what you're going to find is that the more you learn about your moon sign, you're going to totally understand why your mom is the way that she is and why you are the way that you are. And oftentimes moon signs run in families, and sun signs, like a Pisces mom will give birth to a Pisces moon, or a Pisces moon will give birth to another Pisces moon. When I start doing ancestral readings, that's one of the things that I've noticed, is that there's certain karmic energies that run in families. But please talk to your mothers if you have good relationships with them. You're going to learn a whole lot. As an example for myself, as a Capricorn moon, you guys who know astrology know that Capricorn moon is one of the most challenging moon signs you can have, because when Capricorn moon was a kid, they weren't really allowed to feel. That's why I love that I'm such a sensitive person in my older age than I was when I was younger. I've always been a sensitive person, but the environment that I was in and the things my mama had to go through didn't really allow for that. So as a Capricorn moon, when my mom was pregnant with me, she was going through a lot and by herself, baby number 3. Imagine being 19 years old, having me, and then having 2 other babies that you're taking care of, all under the age of 5. Do you think that was easy? No, it was very, very hard. So she had to do a lot of things on her own. She had to learn a lot of things on her own. She didn't have her mother near her when she was going through all of that in the first 3 years. So I'm sure when she was pregnant with me, there was a lot of anxiety even that came from like, where do I find the extra energy to take care of another child? Like, I'm literally still dealing with these other 2, which, if you're a parent and you've ever had a child that's under 3 or 5 years old, then you know what that's like. So when I came into the world, her goal was to get me working as soon as she could so that I could help her with taking care of some of her responsibilities. So that's how Capricorn moon is made. That's how we become who we are. From a young age, our parents put a lot of responsibility on us because we already know they're overwhelmed, and parts of us wants to do it because we love them and we hate to see them struggling and suffer. I was like 8 years old, like cooking meals for my entire family. That's why I've never struggled with being able to run my life. That's why, I've always done great at work. Like wherever I've been, I've always been promoted at every job I've ever had because I understand the true meaning of responsibilities. I've had them since I was young. When I was 16 years old, I got my first job and I've been taking care of myself financially since then. Why am I able to do all those things? Because of my Capricorn moon. Yeah, on one hand, I'm very responsible, very productive. I know how to organize my life, my time, but I didn't have a lot of time to feel. Just like my mom didn't have a lot of time to feel. When you're 19 and pregnant with your 3rd baby, there's not a lot of time for feelings because who cares how you feel? What does it matter? It matters not, because these babies still need to eat. These diapers need to be changed. These meals need to be cooked. These in-laws need to be fed. And, when you're a stay-at-home mom doing all of that, it's a lot of work. Anybody who's ever been a stay-at-home mom, they know what that's like. And trying to do that when you're not even like fully all the way like an adult, that's not easy. So yes, I learned all the things I needed to learn to be successful at my life, but I didn't learn how to feel. or how to talk about my feelings or how to express my feelings. And that comes with Capricorn moon. And that's why a lot of times Capricorn moon can come across insensitive. This practical mindset that's, not rooted in any sort of sensitivity. And the other people that grew up in homes where they were allowed to feel things and their feelings were important and their feelings mattered, they're not going to be able to understand the person that you are because you're speaking different languages. So I say that to say there's a lot of value in speaking with your parents about what their experience was like, because you're going to be able to clearly see yourself better. And, I'm a Capricorn stellium, so obviously a lot of karmic energy in my bloodline. And my North Node is totally the opposite of that. In this life, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to turn the page. I'm here to connect with my feelings and help other people connect with their feelings. Because I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. Because the way I grew up, I didn't even know what feelings were. I could be like angry and not even know. And people like that, like they're yelling, like they're mad and they're yelling and they're like, but why are you angry? And they're like, I'm not angry. It's like, what? But you okay, you're yelling, so obviously you're angry. You're mad. It's okay. It's almost like there's like a shame that you associate with having feelings when you didn't when you didn't grow up with them. If there's one piece of advice that I would give you, that would be it. Like, talk to your mom about that. And you will understand your mom better. You will understand the trauma she's been through. You understand the trauma that her mom went through and her mom went through, and you'll be able to see yourself a lot more clearly, a lot better. You'll be able to align with your spiritual calling a little bit easier because you're approaching this conversation from the perspective of growth and wanting to learn and wanting to be curious. And once you have that open mind about things, there's so much room there for new aha moments. It's like all of the things that are actually making me successful are the things that I learned from my mom's work ethic. And all of my dad's love is very much so appreciated. And that's why I know my worth. But the work that I needed to do to be a balanced emotional being, which is somebody who's comfortable with both their masculine and feminine energy, somebody who's loving and kind, but also has good boundaries, that kind of work was not work that I learned in the home. This is stuff that I had to go on my own journey to learn. And that's why I do this work, is because I want to help you to better learn yourself. Because the more you know about yourself, the better of a machine you're going to become, which means the easier it's going to be for you to get and stay into alignment. As long as you're learning, life is one big old classroom. Yes. And a lot of it is really funny, honestly. I think if you understand that you're here to learn, a lot of it is comical, because even like the detours, even the things that you consider bad in the moment when they're happening, those always end up being like the best things for you. Like the things that really like help you grow, which is what's so like amazing about life. I find that like so special that, you can like be removed from certain moment enough to like get a different perspective. Like, how magical is that? That everything isn't just happening in the here and now, in the context of our childhood. I talk a lot about my parents on this channel because obviously they give me life, and a lot of who I am is because of them. But when I was little, I had the most challenging relationship with my mom. I am a Capricorn moon, so there was a lot of pressure from a young age. I don't think I understood that that's what she was doing, by like tightening me up, like getting me to like follow through on things, do what I'm supposed to do, all of that kind of stuff. As a kid, you don't have that kind of insight. So I used to think she just was really, really mean to me. And I think what made that contrast so evident was because my dad really doted on me. So I had these two parents where one thought I could do no wrong, and I was literally an angel, and who just thought I was the best thing since sliced bread, and just whatever I wanted, I got. And this other parent that I felt like was like constantly like measuring my performance and always wanted me to be better, to do more, to do better, and all of that. When I was little, that was my perspective, right? Oh, she's really mean to me, and he really loves me. Like, that's very clear. But now that I'm older, what I realize is that the life lessons that I needed to learn in order to be great were actually the ones that my mom taught me. Even though I love the way my dad loved me, because obviously I needed that to balance off some of that other energy I was getting, which was like very performance driven. But I didn't understand at the time that the kind of love she was giving me was actually the kind of love that I needed to become who I am to be. But there's no way to know that until you live it. You live that life. While unconditional love is great, you certainly cannot send your kid out in the world, telling them that everybody's going to think they're as adorable as you think they are and that everything they do is just right. That's not really preparing them for success, even though it feels good. What's going to prepare them is giving them discipline and consistency and accountability and all of that stuff. I just find that interesting about life. But I think some of the older signs get that because they've lived so many lives. They can have an experience and detach from it. They don't necessarily need to feel completely attached to it, which Scorpio really struggles with that still. But that's because Scorpio is like some of the earlier later signs, but all the other ones can detach easily. So as Nikki B said, interesting, the issue I had with my mom was I wanted her, but I never needed her, and that rocked her. Oh, wow, that's amazing. Wow, that's deep. You wanted her, but you never needed her, and she wanted to be needed. What's your mom's sun sign? I'm just curious. Your mom was a Leo. Oh, and you're a Leo. That is very interesting. I can see that. Two Leos together. Leo moms also, like, if they haven't done any of their work, and by the way, I'm not saying that that's the case with your mom. I'm just speaking in general about Leo sun moms. Leo sun moms tend to be very controlling over their kids because on some level they derive some sort of emotional satisfaction from putting their kid like exactly where they want them to be. Like they love their kids very deeply, obviously, but there's a little bit of like their parenting that is tied to showmanship. So it's not just I'm a great mom. It's like I need other people to know that I'm a great mom. So it's very much so about advertising their children so that everybody can see that they are a great mom. So a lot of times there is an expectation that they have over their children. There's a lot of control that they have over their children because they see their children as an extension of themselves. So if my child is out there looking crazy, then that means I'm not doing a good job. So I have to, you know what I mean? Like I have to make sure that she stays in line because who she is directly a reflection of who I am. So a lot of times Leo moms or Leo parents in general, but more so with mom, because with mom it's like this insidious like emotional enmeshment with the child that we hardly ever talk about when we're talking about Leo moms. But there is some of that there. It happens with other moms too, but yeah, there is some of that there because they almost like use their children as a source of like self-esteem and emotional fulfillment. So for that reason, they need to control their children so that they can make sure they're always getting that emotional feedback and that emotional fulfillment. Oh, so you are closer to your Virgo brother. I see. Leo mom and Cancer dad. Yikes. That's a lot of control in a home. That's the part I'm saying yikes at. Because both of them are very controlling. Again, this is why I like karmic readings because the more now that I'm older, I'm able to have meaningful conversations with my mom about like her childhood and what it was like growing up with her mom and what was her grandmother like and what was her great grandmother like and the more I'm able to talk to my parents on this level, the more I'm able to understand that they too are the product of their own histories. They too are the product of their own life choices. They're two are the product of their own circumstances, and much of who they are is directly related to a lot of the things that they've been through. So once you start seeing your parents as multidimensional people, you can understand their complexities. As an example, let's say you didn't have parents, right? Let's say that you grew up in the foster care system, you were separated from your birth mother at a young age, and let's say that you were in and out of foster homes and never really felt like you had a family. When that person turns 18 and they go out there in the world like looking for love, what do you think they're going to be like out there? What kind of quality of love do you think they can provide to somebody? What kind of quality of love do you think they're looking for? So the experiences that we have in our childhood, the emotional ones, especially the ones with our parents, the relationship with our parents, like a lot of the trauma that was passed on to us from our parents is trauma that was passed on to them from their parents. A lot of these problems, these family problems, don't start with us. They've been there for generations and generations and generations. Generational trauma being passed down the bloodline. Absolutely. That's why I'm so glad Gen Z is like more awake than we were, when we were younger, because nobody is going to come and end the cycle for us. Like, we have to choose to be better and do better. And we have to understand like who we are, where we come from. We have to know our history. When I do these readings and I see these patterns repeat in families, it's very, very sad. And it's like I so desperately want that person to be the change, be the change. It's all about evolution and growth. It's not about perfection. It's about moving our bloodline forward. With every decision, we want to be better than our ancestors. That's why they're here with us. That's why they help us. That's why they give us nudgings. That's why they protect us. That's why they, listen to us. That's why they stay with us. But if we're not grounded, if we're not listening, if we're not aligned, then we're not able to be helped. And then we keep redoing what was already done. Thank you, Stacy, for saying that. Stacy said they learned that work through their spiritual awakening. Yeah, spirituality is so good. Like the way gets you just right back where you belong. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful because even the hard stuff that we go through, once you start looking at them through the lenses of your spiritual journey and your life's calling and your life's purpose and your North Node, all of it makes sense. It's like suddenly everything falls into place and there's no resentment, there's no anger, there's no ugly feelings. Like, you're left with gratitude because all of this is what made you all of this. And there can't be all of you without all of that. And it's just beautiful.
You can book your astrology reading at intuitivehealing.com. You can also watch videos at Intuitive Healing here on YouTube for Astrology 101 content. Listen to the Aquarius podcast on Spotify, as well as here on YouTube for your horoscope. If you're interested in astrology and love connections, you can visit at Styled Under Libra. And of course, for health and wellness and holistic healing, visit at Styled Under Virgo for all of your astrology content. Thanks so much for watching.